Welcome, everyone. I am just going to do my, all share shebang to the Facebook page. I'm going to do I hope everybody's having a good night. Got quite a few updates, and I'm excited to talk about them for the families. Let me just share this real quick. I have everything already set up this time, so it should go a lot faster. I shouldn't have like 20 minutes of me trying to share into my page. I just know everybody's not hip to YouTube and Facebook. It's one or the other. I'm that way. Gosh, I think I only had a Facebook since I was in high school. That's how old school I am. And somebody made it for me because I was so out of touch that they were like, no, girl, you have to have a Facebook at least. So I've had the same Facebook. Yeah, so that's interesting. So I'm already done sharing. See, I'm getting faster. So I hope everybody's having a good night. I was supposed to go on last night and things just kind of got crazy, and I just knew there was no way that I was going to be able to even focus on speaking. So I apologize. But and then there's times where I just have a feeling I shouldn't go on. I plan to go on about something, and then I get this feeling like maybe right now is just not the time. And usually that pans out. In this case, it sure did. I woke up this morning and with some good news, and it's sometimes it happens. I'm learning to really trust on that feeling, especially what I'm trying to do with the page. When I started my page, you go to my description, you go to my channel description, and basically, hey, Rev J, good evening. Lots of good news today. I'm very excited. When I start my page, you go there. If you sum it up in one word, it's just, I want to create movement of some kind. And so when families come and they say, there's been what I would describe as movement, I know people out there are probably saying I'm just in it for the like and shares and whatever. But if you look at my YouTube, I've got like 400 people. My page has grown, and that's awesome because I just see that as people are seeing, people are grasping, people are paying attention. And my end goal is that creates attention to the right people that need to see it, So movement. I just never quite imagined it, if you could ask anybody that knows me, I'm just a cutthroat person. Get just straight to the point. I never claimed to be flashy or anything like that. And if you know anything about me, I'm kind of plain. I'm not artistic. I'm not flashy. I don't even like my own birthday parties. I'm really simple. Really, that just comes down to it. But if you listen, and those that do, is the reason why this is happening. I promise, and I will stand behind that. This is you guys, all of us, as collectively. It can't just happen with one of us. So when families come and they say there's been movement, I'm just that's what I care about. That's where I start to feel like my job has been done, and it's getting done. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I started my page for that, but and I know I have a loud mouth. I can get people's attention. I'm pretty, like I said, cutthroat. If you asked about me, I think people can tell you, if you don't want the truth, don't ask her. She'll see things that you don't think she's seeing. So, yeah. So, lots of good news. But I want to start out with paying respects to Joshua Bohannon. And there is an update that I want to kind of push out. That's the whole thing. Reason why I do this is just push out what families are saying, what those closest are saying. And I just want everybody to know that they are planning a celebration of life for Joshua. And I will get the links all posted and all that good stuff. They have a Facebook group that's run by the family, but they don't have a date, nothing like that. But as soon as I know, or I see, or if they reach out to me, I have a date. Josh went missing on June 3rd, 2021, and I want to let everybody know, it's crazy. I watch and I pay attention, and like I said, sometimes when I don't think it's a good idea to go on, I go scope and I look, and I'm finding that just even that date is being misconstrued, and it is June 3rd, 2021, is when Joshua Bohannon first was reported missing by his aunt and his brother. After a very substantial time throughout the day of searching and doing what they can to locate him and the urgency, they decided to officially report him missing. They have been very vocal in their fight to find Joshua. And that's one of the things that I can't understand with the misconception out there, because boy, I've done an interview with Joshua's aunt, but I wasn't the first interview, and I'm sure I haven't looked, but I can't say that I was the last either. Either way, they have been very vocal as a whole, the community, those that love Josh. So for the detail, and I'm not blaming, that's not what I'm trying to do here. It's just, as me being me, that's just just the way it's crazy. So it was June 3rd, 2021. And, from all accounts that I can gather and just speaking, through the interview that I done with Joshua's aunt, I'm not saying Putnam County didn't do anything, but I think throughout what I'm doing here for Unraveling Tennessee, it is very important to note the ones that do excuse me, do their job, and the families do their job. And I just, from all reports and everything that I've seen, that White County can be very contributed to that. And I know people have their problems with White County, but it could just be contributed to that. They put a lot of man hours into the search for Joshua. And sadly, on March 17th of this year, just this past Thursday, they found Joshua. Now, Joshua went missing out of Putnam County, the Burgess Falls State Park area. It was reported, how it broke out was Josh and his wife have been doing, whatever throughout the day. And initially, when it came down to their last initial stop, was this abandoned house on the state park property. And, it was abandoned, from what I've learned and gathered, that it had been abandoned for quite some time. And they actually entered the building themselves. And for whatever reason, according to Joshua's wife, there was some noise outside. Something caused Joshua to bolt into the woods, and she came outside, rounded the corner, and there was a ranger. And from accounts that I've seen, and this is just my opinion, that the ranger had no reason to believe that Joshua was anybody was around. He did not see Joshua, did not see anybody bolting into the woods, didn't see any of that. His wife had the vehicle they arrived in, and inside were Josh's medication. He was diabetic, which led him to have a foot condition. And, that's a lot of the speculation around how far he could have gotten into the woods, especially with immediate family in the area. So for the life of the ones that knew Joshua, like, he knew his limits, they knew his limits. And even a 10-mile radius would be unimaginable for Joshua to be able to do. So, this is all breaking out, and they're trying to contact him, and they're trying to figure it out. And later in the evening, it just came very apparent that, Joshua was very in contact with his family. They were just a close-knit family no matter what. And for them not to be able to was just strange. And they just knew the sense of urgency, and they were the ones that actually officially reported him missing. And from there, it has just been, yes, was his wife having an affair maybe before and continued afterwards? But, plenty of people do that, and they don't end up doing anything to their spouses. It happens. It's just more the sense of urgency, and I can see, and the questions that they have are questionable, or are credible, because there was just no sense of urgency. And from what all I can see, she just really started to distance herself from Joshua and the whole situation. I've never seen her publicly come out and give any kind of statement. And half of me understands, because of, there could, lynch mob. Of course, you're going to, she was last seen, she's the wife. And, things are kind of sketchy with this medication being in the truck. Maybe, he would have dashed in the woods, but he wouldn't have gone far. And it's just, no sense of urgency to figure out what happened to Joshua. So their questions are very credible. And from then on, it's just been a whirlwind of trying to figure out what happened to Joshua. And, now that he has been able to come home, maybe not in the way that we all hope for, but I truly hope that whichever way it falls, he was found at Window Cliff, and by what I've gathered is about a 15-minute drive. So imagine the walk. And I think that's where everybody closest to Joshua is having the complication is, man, if, a 15-minute drive is, can you imagine walking that? And there's just no way. And a big question has been, did Joshua even arrive to Burgess Falls at the abandoned house? And I cannot disagree with the those that love Josh and their questions. So I really hope that, as much as a tragic this is, they truly hope I hope that they get answers now that he's home. Wherever it falls. Some would think that the wife's account makes sense now that the proximity that he was found in, and we don't know exact location or any of those details right now. Like I just said, this just happened. It's Friday now, the 25th. This just happened last Thursday on the 17th. We're waiting autopsy and all of that still. So they are right now focusing on planning a celebration of life for Joshua. And as soon as I know of a date, I will let everybody know. My heart just, I keep telling everybody we are selfish beings, and by that I mean we feel we have to be invested. And I'll tell you what, as soon as I found out that Joshua Bohannon was diabetic and that he just ran and all this, my grandma was diabetic and she was very insulin dependent. 5 o'clock hit dinner time, lunchtime, breakfast. She was taking her insulin shots. Was she reckless? Very much so. Very much so. Oh, grandma. But, as soon that's what I mean. As soon as I read that, I was done. I was behind this family with whatever outcome, because it's definitely sketchy, and I was invested. and people need to be invested. And, I have people come to me saying, well, what if I say the F word? Or I tell them now, I currently have my 2-year-old. We have to stop him from saying the F word. And we all know where they got that from. His mom. Spoiler alert. So never worry. And two, what if I break down? And it's just, my thing is just, so what? I think that's what's missing. I have stated in previous videos, I think we've kind of got desensitized between the words and the pictures, that we've forgotten that there are real life families behind them. And so what if you break down? Like me, somebody's going to see somebody like Josh and say, my grandma was, and they're going to fight for you. They're going to ask questions. They're going to be invested. And so what's wrong with that? I think that's what's missing. And I can't promise I won't break down with y'all. So by all means, don't ever let that hold you back. Hi, Christy. I'm glad you're here. Lots of good stuff. So yeah, look out for a celebration of life for Joshua Bohannon. And if you are in the area, I will have all that information. And you can attend. And if that's something that they're doing as a public event, I will definitely have that information for you, for sure. So now this isn't Tennessee, y'all. I do believe it or not. I when a family reaches out to me, I will help them out. I'll look into it. We'll get them on. It just turns out that Tennessee just has a very, very and they want to. They want to very much. Christy, are you from Josh's town? Is that what you're referring to? Because my heart breaks for you guys. You guys as a whole just really, really supported that family. And I keep telling everybody, it's not over. Just because he was found in his home and, people think that's the end. This is just the beginning. And I hope that they really get answers. I hope you all get answers. And I'm hoping, with the spotlight on Tennessee right now, they do a very diligent job in doing that. Very, very much so. Wherever the chips fall, answers. That's all. If you ask any of these families, that's all they want. It's just answers, because they're just so in the dark. So I've been thinking about them. I've been thinking about y'all. Yeah. But I do, and the other night I had a family for Leon Baker on here. His family is over in Hawaii, and he is missing out of Clark County, Las Vegas, Nevada. And it has just been so difficult for them to, being so far away, to get people, their questions answered. For anybody to, they did have an open missing person. Leon was diabetic also. He was homeless, but he was staying around a motel. And yes, there was talk that he was venturing on, but the one thing that can be very certain was Leon was very much in contact with his family on a routine basis. He had an SSI check he was receiving monthly that was deposited into his bank account. I just recently had his mother and his sister on here. So you can go jump into the details. So some of the things that we learned on there was, Leon went missing on August 11th in 2021, but come November, dead communication. Like, they asked him the investigators to check his bank account to see if his checks were adding up. If anybody withdrawal, maybe we could figure out who it was. He was very much in contact with his grandma. He sent letters to his grandma. His grandma sent him money. The family was just, by all accounts, just very supportive and wanted to help him out. And then August 11th was the last time that the family had contact with Leon. So investigators, just shot back with, he's fine. I mean, and there's just not been any proof of that. You know, all things, that Leon had coming his way, all that just stopped. And come November, I have it written down here. Come November, 3 months after nothing, um, the grandmother received letter. And, when the family got this letter, I believe there was two of them. I've seen them myself in accordance to some of Leon's older letters that he sent that they know for sure. Because one of the things when they, after all communication stopped, just when they received these letters 3 months afterwards, they just did not get the feeling that it was Leon, just by the way the talk was. He always referred to as grandpa and grandpa or papa, and then these letters received, it was their names. And then, some of the letter reads, "Happy birthday to you and your family." And the first question that came to mind, well, Leon's writing his grandma. This is his family. This would be his family. Why on earth would Leon put that in there? That's one of the big questions. That's what, there's alarming things in contrast to the two, or the letters we know that are Leon's and the letters that are questionable. And they are very good questions. I asked, did authorities, well, they closed the case, nobody will respond. And that was kind of it. And they reached out. Well, I've been wanting to come back on and kind of give my thoughts on Leon. And just, I believe it was yesterday, his sister reached out to me, and one of the detectives on the case emailed her, and they asked about the letter. They sent the investigators copies of the letters, and they are going to have it investigated by a handwriting analyst. And that's amazing, when they, and that's movement. They've come and said, we just don't know anything. We're so far away. Nobody will communicate with us. They're saying, he's fine, and we have no proof of him being fine. We just want to know. We want something. So then we aired the podcast, and, privately I said, well, I definitely think people should at least know that this has happened, this has occurred. We don't necessarily even have to put the letters out there. People just need to be aware. We need to make that public. And, so that's movement. And when they come back and say, after your podcast, I don't want to take credit because, like I said, you guys are pushing it out. I think that post that I shared, his video got like 27 to 30 shares. And that's what generated it, that those people. So that's amazing. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. There was a guy that I found that was around the hotel. I mean, he's still there from what I can tell. And I've reached out to him to see if maybe he's spotted Leon. From what I learned, he's actually blocked the family. So, I mean, I just think there's a lot of places that they can look down now. And I hope that them asking for those letters lead to more movement. And it's awesome. Yeah. So Parker Morris is another Tennessee. He is in the 13th district as well. I have also done an episode in Unraveling Tennessee on him. I've done a few videos actually, and just between talking to everybody and learning that Parker, He went missing back in October 21st, 2018. He was last seen walking down with an older man on Webb Avenue. Uh, I have reason to believe that maybe there were some people that seen Parker after that. I cannot confirm, but I have reason to believe that maybe he was seen a little bit after that. But by all accounts, for as now, there when I got word and people reached out to me and we aired, nothing really had been done, and there was major lead that they could have very much ran down. Uh, an argument over a car and a title, and he owed money, and very good reason to think that Parker just did not go missing on his own account. Um, his dad last seen him. He said that there were, Parker relayed to him that he was held at gunpoint by two gunmen. And one of those gunmen, he was having he was who he was supposed to give his title to, and some, in reference for a little bit of money in return, maybe. And they were fighting over it. I've had other people tell me, yeah, they've heard fight over it. People have told me that he owed one of the gunman's girlfriend, drug dealer, money. Just lots of things. And the question has been around this Kia. It was a 2004 dark brown. The title was seen and found in a guy named Steve's glove box after he had killed himself. And we do not know where it's at. From what I've heard, there was a video going around, and I know that people had seen and heard this video, and I would really like to talk to those people. I have put out the names Roger, I have put out the names Rocky, and I put out the name Steve. And I really would like to know if anybody knows if Parker was hanging around a guy named Nathan at the time. Because I would love, like I said, there's just a lot of things still that I would love people to come forward and just kind of talk about with me, whether publicly or privately. I just come get, that's just more of the picture. So Las Vegas is so bad. My friend's 2-year-old was kidnapped. I'm sorry, I just seen this, Christy. I will come. I will come back to you. I promise. I promise you. So I would love anybody, I have an email. I have a Facebook group. I have all of that to reach out. So there was this account that a bunch of them, including Parker, were heading up to Florida around this time. And I've had people kind of say, yeah, I heard that talk too. And people have said out of Parker's own mouth that he said something about heading up to Florida. And one thing about this is, everybody that has come forward, everybody that's commented, everybody that's contributed, they have all kind of came and said kind of the same thing. In reference with the video too, that kind of aligns with what everybody has been saying. And just me being me, I listen to everybody. But, if in the way I see it, you have everybody talking about this thing, and I'm looking for also the things that people aren't talking about that somebody brings forth. So I had, a different account come forward, and it kind of aligns with this trip to Florida and maybe a stop in Pikesville or Pike County. And I figured everybody out there that knows the area could help me confirm that. Parker Morris. He is out of Crossville, Tennessee. He was missing October 21st, 2018. So I had a new account of maybe is it Pikeville? Okay. So Pikeville and an account that was relayed to them. And so, when I find and I told this person, I said, everybody out here is saying this that has come forth with information. But this is the first time that I'm hearing, but is it a piece of the puzzle that we're missing? And that's what I question when I get this oddball, this shrewd left curve here. And I try to, I do check, and I do try to put it out there. So is it possible that Parker was on his way to this trip and they took a pit stop in Pikeville? And then it led to, because one thing was stirring the account was Parker was not missing. And that just raises questions. Oh, he's not? So then what happened? And it just makes you wonder. And who this is coming from is a person that I already have that name. I already have that written down. I already got that I'm not saying involvement. I have a banner down here. It's just, this is just open, and from all the accounts, you know. So I already, they were already on my radar. So, we've done a few episodes, and I do have an update. No, sadly, I've had people ask me if Parker had been found. No, I would definitely, that would be something very, very known. I have no, he has not, sadly. What I do know is that I try to, I don't really just throw things out there. But if you have so many people saying something, I just, that's what I do. We're going to come up here and we're going to put it out, and we're going to sift through it and get to it, you know? Um, so I had some information come in, and, speaking with those, when two people corroborate something that they have no idea that they're corroborating, I find that something very need to know, and bring attention to. And that's kind of what happened. I had somebody reach out, and they were like, I've tried to call the game, or the Crossville. I left a message, I went through the steps. I tried to get hold of and, nobody. And then I was like, oh, well, I nudged and I said, hey, you need to open up your messages because this person has been reaching out to you. Well, in the meantime, this person had just kind of corroborated that this person I've been talking, said, without knowing. There's just no way that they would. There's no way. So we made it a very big deal to bring this to the Crossville attention. Hey, what are you gonna do? At first we didn't think that they were gonna do anything, really. That's kind of how we were feeling. But it turns out they are very much looking into it. Um, and actually, something was set up last week. It was a no-show. They were actually supposed to show up today, and it was a no-show. And now I'm hoping, that speaks, you know, for itself there, I feel. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from here. But I will give Crossville, I will commend them because, yeah, kudos for listening. This is serious stuff. So, yeah. Um, I will keep everybody updated as that comes out. But they are very much looking into things when we thought they weren't, and that's the least, that's what we can have for hope for, ask for. That is what we're asking. So, next week I'm hoping all of these are happening at once, and I love it for the families. I love it. It just seriously, after I get off here, I'm gonna have me a toast because that's what I do. That's why I made my page. So I will keep everybody updated on that. Um, but if anybody knows that Parker was, any of those names, Rocky, Roger, Steve, and Nathan, um, I would love to talk to you. Anonymously, privately, publicly, however you want to do that, however you're comfortable. So Gainesboro Four. Um, the last we left off, we had permission to be on the property that this happened, um, back on February 9th, 2002. TJ Coleman, Lacey Greer, Joseph Parker, and Elizabeth Maddox all perished, and it was horrific. It's tragic. They were all gathered to hang out in a trailer owned by their friend's grandpa. Um, it was not, and nobody was living in it. His grandpa actually was in the nursing home, from what I have gathered by accounts. So it was vacant at the time. Um, from what I know, that not it wasn't really a hangout, but at this point in time, they all decided to just go party, hang out, drink, just be teenagers. They were all in high school. Um, and by the end of the night, the whole trailer was in flames. Um, the friend that owned his grandpa owned the survivor, he survived, while all four of his friends died inside the trailer. And just everything that's followed has just been just as tragic. And I don't have any other word for that. It's just as tragic. I'm very much left in the dark. So in the dark, rumor. This is just 2 decades, and you can imagine the wildfire that has spread through the community, or you would think of rumor, and you have to question yourself: is rumor something that didn't happen, or is this is something that happened, but nobody really speak on. So it's crazy. Um, so that friend survived. We do have a survivor. He was found by his stepfather, pulled him from his car located outside of the trailer. The aunt shows up. I know somebody else was there. I'm not sure who that person is or what their name is. But I know that besides the survivor's stepdad and aunt, there was somebody else on scene. Um, the aunt shows up, and you would just think that 911 was called. But I have very good reason to believe that instead of 911 being the first call, TJ's grandpa was the first call. And, you know, by events that followed, there's just been this big question of, were there anybody else inside? Who, how many? And it was kind of very sketchy. And if you ask me, I just can't understand between 4 people being there, I know the aunt was down there earlier in the day. I know from the DA meeting that it was said that she spotted TJ's car and that's why she called her grandpa. But this is, 3 a.m. And from what I know, his car is a dark colored car. I think that, it's just, how did nobody know that for sure that there was not four kids in there? Is a very good question. Um, when it all came out, when everything came out, there was this, and this is where the talk of hearsay and rumor from investigators that took over the investigation come into play. Um, it was just based off of Cookie had a girlfriend and TJ was hanging out with her. By all accounts, I've heard that it wasn't nothing serious to that nature. I've talked to those closest to the ex-girlfriend and people around, just accounts. And, was there a time right before this that they were hanging out? Yeah, and I think maybe that's what Cookie found out about and he didn't like it. But I very much, my point is, I very much believe that this was happening at the time. And that's where my question of what is rumor comes into play and what is something that happened. The only question is, does it have any relation to what happened to those kids that night? Um, you know, everybody zoned in on this being the reason, and I'm not saying that by zone in, I mean, your accounts, everybody's accounts were just focused on that. I just think everybody thought, this happened, being who he is. And, by all accounts, he was not a nice person. Cookie was not. Some people say, yes, he was. And I believe that too. There are different sides to people depending on how you know them. I think everybody can agree on that. But, and there was talk of, Cookie and Daniel. When, I don't really speak on Daniel. I've had a chance to talk to those, closer to Daniel. A lot of people have come and said, in the last few days, Daniel was just talking like about something he did. And some people say it's something he knew. Those closest to him to believe at the least he knew something. But he was not somebody that actually would go out and do this for Cookie. Word is that Cookie paid him to do this. And that could be fallen into hearsay, I believe. That could definitely. But the fact that this, argument was happening is not the hearsay. It's, did that cause this to happen is the question. By all accounts, they could not place Cookie there. I know now that it wasn't a time card of Cookies. It was a time card of somebody else. And this person, by investigators that took over, completely lied about his accounts. First, he was hanging with Cookie. Then Cookie was at a party. I have not had anybody come tell me that Cookie was seen at a party that night. If I missed that, please make yourself known. I would love that to do that. But when it comes down to it, they had a hard time placing Cookie. There was a 45-minute gap. And, the whole time I'm talking and I'm having these accounts of Cookie and this drama going down, a lot of people didn't even know that there was a survivor. I mean, there was an article or two out there that kind of repeated the same thing that said, but there was no coverage. There was nothing that was putting it out. So people, that weren't closest to the situation would not know. thought there was a survivor, but there was a survivor. Um, he, by his account, he does not remember anything. Um, like I said, when his stepdad got there, he was inside the car sleeping, and he was pulled from the car. And since then, we really do not know too much about it. I mean, people have really secluded him, and I feel that he has been protected. You know, the question of survivor's guilt comes into play. And I do sympathize. I mean, this kid was a teenager himself. He was, outside, and these four of his friends just died in his grandfather's trailer. Well, they were his friends. Um, but me being me, you know, when I hear of this, immediately my ears are going to perk. There was a survivor. He doesn't know anything. How? What are the details? And at first glance, you can kind of understand maybe why he wouldn't understand anything, or why he wouldn't remember anything. But then you start to peel it back a little bit, and I find myself, oh, and then what? And then as it goes on, and the more information you get, I come to question myself, and I think, oh, I think I know why he's been so silent all these years. I think I know why now. And I'm not saying that there's not survivor's guilt because of what I've come to find. I'm not saying that, because according to what I did find, all of this, the question wasn't if it was an accident, as did something tip over, or something, it was a question of inadvertently set or intentionally set. So at the DA meet, this question of Derek just weighed on my mind. I know we're all over here talking about one thing, and I think it's very important to get those accounts out. Because it did happen. I firmly believe that Cookie being mad at TJ over his girlfriend did happen. I do. But while we're all over here talking about this, I just have these burning questions in my mind, and the more I'm finding out over here, and I've said before, we're in the midst of talking about this high school drama, and I feel like somebody just, these certain people, they're hinting I'm missing something. I'm missing. And lo and behold, I'm not. I'm very, very much aware of the suspiciousness, and there's reasons why I don't talk about things at that time, for reasons. But then you come to a point where you have to continue on anyways as we start this. Also, so we learned at the DA meeting, there was a poly given to the survivor, and he failed. I have very much reason to believe that there were, in fact, two given. One was inconclusive, and one was, by DA accounts we hear, failed. Um, which, is just crazy if you think about it. Um, there have been accounts that have come to light that down at the station, there had been some statements made by the survivor that says, I may or may have not done, I don't remember, I can't remember, I do not remember. Um, and that's alarming. That, for me being me, that raises questions because, the thing of it is they chalk all of this up to these kids were so drunk. These kids were on pills. They say the survivor before this was a basket case, he was on Xanax, he was on this and that, and then this happens, he was just a basket case afterwards. It really messed him up. And I just have to, with the things that I find, I'm not sure if anybody knows, but you would think that if my point is that you should have, because with all this, how the TBI, and that's who came in and took over this, are saying this is hearsay, we can't figure it out, we will never figure it out, we will never do this, because of honestly, because of the boys over in Gainesboro. And for the life of me, no matter, I'm not saying that the survivor is complicit at any stage. What I'm saying is you have 4 dead teenagers in a trailer and somebody alive on the outside. You would think that any investigation would start there. You talk to anybody, everybody's a suspect until you rule them out. You start backwards and you work your way out. You don't work your way in. You work your way out. Go ask them. Anybody, any office, I bet you that's what they'll say. They work their way out. They clear the closest. So, of course, naturally, you would start with the survivor. And it just appears to me that once anybody on the outside came in, they chalked it up to tunnel vision. They zoned in on the survivor, and they didn't pay attention to anything else. And maybe they did, but, rightfully so, because they were on their way to either ruling him in or ruling him out. And today we are still in limbo, because you would think if they were definitively, they would publicly clear this man's name. So why haven't they? You have accounts of him sitting in the jail, rocking back and forth. Somebody asks what's wrong with him. He says, I did this. I killed them. Regardless of how he meant those statements, intentionally, non-intentional, I can commend the boys down at the station. The people that first initially, I'm talking from first came on that scene till it was handed off. I can say that at least they were trying to figure it out wherever it would have led. And I can commend them for that. Because it was like the big boys came in and said, you guys have tunnel vision. This is not true. There's no base. There's no nothing. And they did nothing. Okay, you're saying this, but what did you do? Because here we are 2 decades later. And by the things I've learned, I mean, it's just, what it comes down to it is, it's scary to think, and I was talking about this earlier, it's scary to think that all it takes for a case not to get solved is how many perspectives are on that case. And if you guys aren't on the same page, for whatever reason, pissing contests, y'all not getting along, to think that that's the reason why a case could potentially be stalled, evidence gone, something's not done. I mean, we could just have a case here that could have very well been solved, whether accident, wherever it would have taken. But because of what was happening between high people in the investigation, that could be why we're here today. Because I can tell you what, nobody pressed further than those polygraphs. No, nothing that I've seen. And if there is, by all means, come show me. But nobody pressed, and I can commend the Gainesboro for doing that. Um, you know, a lot of people flat out said there was none ever given over the years. That it was a lie. That boys down at the station were leaking stuff they weren't supposed to. That they lied about the poly. Da, 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 da. Okay, well, the DA meeting that happened on March 11th says that there was a poly given and it was failed. So I have more reason to believe that the boys over at Gainesboro than I do for the TBI or the people that took over this case at this point. They want to base this all on they were so drunk, but if, as we know now, the autopsy states, which I know, Dr. Charles Harlan, we cannot, go too much on his word, because by some accounts, he was ran out of Tennessee by the things that he did. He was everything short of a crook himself. So, but the autopsy states that these kids were barely drunk. I mean, 0.08, 0.09 at the most. There was no pills in their system. And my question was Derek given a drug and alcohol? Yeah, I mean, they were all underage, and these kids, in the trailer got tested. Did he have a drug and alcohol test that night? They based this all on he was so messed up he can't remember if he did or not. They base it on a lot of these things of that nature. And then you look at the autopsies. Well, there was a liter of alcohol there. So did he drink it all? Was he given a drug and alcohol? And, even if that was the case, so they're basing it on, oh, well, he can't remember. And nobody pressed him. In fact, people have since then protected him. And whether, it happened on inadvertently or intentionally is what it seems to come down to. Quite frankly, I don't know where, and my question, what it comes down to for me is, was it set inadvertently, intentionally? And if it was intentionally, was it set for a personal motivation, or was it set for somebody else? Because we've heard a lot of things out there, but nobody has ever seemed to question maybe something could have actually happened inside that trailer. But my point is, between the autopsy, between Gainesboro, and between the people that took over, everybody's saying something different. So my question is, then who is lying? And why? So, I mean, everybody very much makes you can't trust the crook of a ME. I just think there's a lot of grounds for somebody to come in and take over on the outside of this, and for second opinions to be done. And I tell you what, things are movement. So I was supposed to go on, and then, I had wind of this vigil. As everybody knows, we had permission, we lost permission, which is very sad and devastating. And, for the people who are able to give that permission should be very ashamed of themselves. So we've been trying to look at another event, try to figure it out. And we've been talking about, maybe having one for each grave site that we can. And there has been talk of maybe having one at the square and getting permission for that. So we had gotten in contact with the people that could point us in the right direction to get permission. All in all, there will be a April 7th at 7 p.m. There will be a meeting in the town there in Gainesboro to ask for permission to hold the vigil in the town square. And I would love, it's public, it's open. I would love anybody that is in the area, that loved them, that has caught word and want to support them, um, to come show support. And I think that would be truly amazing, take this opportunity to just make them fully aware of why this vigil needs to happen in the town square, you know? So I think it would just be something very, very wonderful to go show support. I am trying my very hardest to be there myself. I have been invited to come. Um, I've actually been invited by some parents in the Gainesboro Four to come on March 31st. I do not sadly know if I am going to be able to make that, which I wholeheartedly wish I can. And it breaks my heart because that's one of the things I want to do as we adapt is not only, create a space to potentially have movement, but to be able to be there for these families and support them as that comes, and if they invite me, I would love to just be able to say, yes, I can come. I'm saving my pennies for April 7th at 7 p.m. I would love to meet everybody. I would love to meet these parents that I am talking to from so far away. I'm in Ohio. Um, you know, so I'm saving up my pennies, and if I can make it March 31st, I'm not going to go into detail on that just yet, but I promise as soon as I can, everybody will know. But they have asked me, if I could be there also, and I would just love to go up there and support them. So I will be on tomorrow to talk a little bit more about that. Yeah, I am just movement. When all these families come back and tell me that there has been movement, I know that we are getting it. Hi, Michelle. What day is it? Oh, it's Friday. I was gonna say, oh my goodness, there you are. We always miss each other. But yeah, so starting next week, I kind of like to do separate videos for all the stories that I run for the families, because that just, that's the whole spotlight. But so many things have been happening at the same time. I figured I would go on and get everybody updated on the same page, and starting Monday, I want to do something every night, something in support, something to bring aware, something to come on, and something to do, something to say, update, whatever I can, a family coming on, if there's anybody out there that wants to come talk to me, come talk to me. But as of right now, all these updates are giving, I want to take that time to give special attention to them. So we will be chatting more of all of this in depth coming Monday. And I will be on tomorrow to talk more about Gainesboro and what's coming up with the April 7th meet and what we hope for, and to rally people up in support. So that is all I have for you guys tonight. Thank you guys for listening. Support these, rally. That's what it's going to take, is a rally. And that's what's going to get the movement. So, this is Ash with TC Spotlight. Oh, one more thing. Hold on. I look like a whole Sam Hell. But I've been promising that I would do this. There has been I'm tired, I'm a hot mess. There's been talk of that some people that are connected to cases are actually coming on here and doing the podcast. It's ridiculous. I know people don't know how to navigate YouTube sometimes, but if you click my little name at the bottom there, that has my TC Spotlight picture and says my name. If you click that, you'll go to my homepage. And I've done videos before where I've shown my face. I have. It's me. I'm Ash. I'm TC Spotlight. It is nobody connected to anywhere. I know it sounds silly, you guys, but I do have an account, and somebody has been kind of bullied, and an account has come up that maybe somebody. I'm in Ohio. My name is Ash. TC here. Uh, I've been doing it from the beginning. It's always me up here running the show. I was supposed to have a partner way before I knew anything about Tennessee, and I'm alone up here on the screen. I have some people, but it's me. So the voice, the face, it's not who you're thinking. It's nobody there. So I just wanted to do that. I was supposed to do that last time and I forgot. So yeah, I usually come on, it's if I wear makeup or not. I'm not usually a makeup person, but I try not to give anybody a reason to make fun of me. So the focus stays on the family. So that was me, voice, face, and all the videos. So go back and check them. I've done interviews with families where I've shown my face. So it's me. So you guys have a good night. Like I said, it's Ash with TC Spotlight. You guys stay safe and you guys have a good night.